Hello, my name is Chloe Hippolyte, and my topic for today will be the influence on physical activity on the mental health of young adults. This is what my paper was written about, so this is the continuity of that project. So to start off with the introduction and why I chose this topic focuses on the relationship between mental health and fitness. So that includes the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the relationship that one person might have with their mental health and how that affects them and how fitness helped them with their mental health, and also with food insecurities and how that also affects your mental health when you don't have a balanced diet and your body is not at its fullest capacity or working properly because of that. The reason I chose this topic is because this study was done on young adults, and a lot of us in the class can resonate with topics of this nature and can probably use this as a good reference point when it comes to, seeing different perspectives on how to deal with their mental health in an adaptive manner. So for the first study, this was called The Influence of Physical Exercise on Mental Health and Positive Emotions of College Students. So this worked on positive effects of working out on mental health, especially in young adults, and addressing the mental health of young adults as a whole. Let me just move my picture right here. I added a picture of team bonding. This is because in this study, what was shown was that a lot of people, young adults particularly that were in college, struggled with mental health. This came with starting a new chapter in their lives. This came with making sure that they are fully ready to accept the responsibility of becoming a young adult and moving into that new phase of their life. So this focused on seeing if maybe physical activity would help them better in college, especially when dealing with stress. The methods of this study were to put college students, males were 500 and females were 650 at random, and they took part in a survey. Most of these students have not worked out, so this analyzed both the physical and mental of working out, which meant that if these were people that haven't worked out before, they took up the physical activity aspect of this study and went to go work out and saw the difference in not only mental health, also physically as well. The results of this study were positive, which is always good, because these students also noticed that not only were they feeling healthy, and their mood had changed because they were getting up and being active. So their body saw, they made sure they were eating healthy as well and taking up this opportunity to see what working out was all about. And with that came a positive outcome, and they also built healthy relationships with people who they also met at the gym. So it was kind of a team bonding experience because people were in the gym supporting them. And not only that, they found support in other ways because they made friends too. So their mental health definitely got better once you have people that you know you can support or can support you. The second study that was done that also relates to this paper was the physical and mental health outcomes associated with prior food insecurity among young adults. This was written by Darling, Fahrenkamp, and Wilson. This was the study done by them. Now you might wonder, what is food insecurity and how does this apply to anything that I'm talking about? How does this apply to working out? Food insecurity is when an individual or a family has limited or uncertain access to food. So this can lead to them not maintaining a healthy diet because they have to make sure they conserve enough food to last them for an excess amount of time. This is something that's very common. This is people living paycheck to paycheck and spending a small amount of money to make sure that their families eat And then down the line, that leads to people making sure that they save or store a tiny amount of food because they don't know when the next time they're going to eat. If it helps, this is when back in the day, when our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, think of it as them hibernating, and this is the food that they store over the winter because they don't know when the next crop is going to come in, when the next growth food is going to come in. So this applies to that. How this applies to the research that was done was because this applies to low and middle income families, people who struggle to get food every day. And these are now young adults that are living by means where they have to conserve a certain amount of food and they can't, or they have to work a certain amount of hours to make sure they provide for their family and then save enough money to make sure they get to school. So this study was taken up by freshman college students. So fresh out of high school and fresh into college, and they were at Ohio University where they took another survey, and this is what they found. Oops. Sorry about that. The results of this study, which was a self-study questionnaire, so they took their own survey, was the people who were struggling from food insecurities had higher levels of body mass index, waist to height ratio, and they also struggled with depression or maybe some disordered eating. The body mass index, means that these people were probably higher in weight, meaning that they were conserving food and fat to make sure that they weren't hungry at a certain point in time where they didn't have any access to food. Waist to height ratio is the same thing. The depressive symptoms come from their body, their emotions, and their mental health. The disordered eating patterns also is a factor of the depressive symptoms, which could be either anemia or bulimic eating habits, which also is a result from overeating or just compensating that food, both of which are not healthy. Putting these articles together results in people coming out of food insecurities or the mental health patterns that are maladaptive. And because of that, and them going to work out or them making sure that they maintain a balanced diet resulted in a healthier mood. They were more happy, a positive outcome across the board. There were no bad outcomes, but the researchers also made sure that these test participants also followed up in terms of making sure they took up that therapy. Like this wasn't just a questionnaire and a one and done and then they just finished. They made sure that these people did find therapy and adaptive ways to go about what they were dealing with. These were people that they saw were depressed and said, you know what? Let's continue this study. It seems like what we're doing is working, and we're finding out this information in regards to how these people are feeling, and these are young college students. So this was very important in terms of making sure that they continue the healthy adaptive behaviors. For the future research of this study, it focused more on the aspect of making sure that these kids are well aware of mental health opportunities where they can speak to somebody to make sure that they improve themselves and the people around them. Or let's say they went to the gym and they found that connection with other people to make sure they maintain that connection and don't fall back into old habits. This is important because young adults do need support networks, they do need friends, and this allows them to have that. This future research focused more on making sure that food insecurity and negative mental health is more put on the forefront, which it currently is as of right now in terms of college and young adults, making sure that they practice mindfulness, coping mechanisms. There are outlets for young adults, but just continuing that trend. So what? Why is this important? Young adults form healthy coping mechanisms to breed healthier outlooks on life. When somebody has a good outlook on life, that presents better opportunities for them and leads to a more healthier perspective on how they deal with situations. Proper education on mental health results in less maladaptive behaviors. Same thing. It means that they will make sure that they will not continue any negative behaviors that will set them back from how far they came. And less stress means a better life. Same thing. If you practice healthy living, then it will in turn make sure that the insides are clean and so are the outsides, and it shows. These are my references, and thank you for watching.